Hi folks, it's another week with me, Ghost Critic, and some more comic book reviews. And with the comic shipping, shipping problems bringing my comics a day late, I've only just been able to pick them up this evening. And for me, it's been quite a heavy week. Hence, there'll be a two-parter review show this week. Not often that this happens, but I've got 5 comics to review for you tonight, and then hopefully another one tomorrow night with all the rest. Just a little insight kind of into how I decide what I'm going to read first. Usually it is the stuff that I'm most excited about reading, the stuff I'm most intrigued or interested because of the last issue goes on the top of the pile and I read them first and then gradually go down. Sometimes I'm surprised at the stuff that's at the bottom that should have been further up, and vice versa. Sometimes stuff at the top doesn't quite hit it home for me, and it kind of happened this week as well. One of the other things I do just before I start reading them, I have a quick flick through every issue, mostly looking at artwork. I'm not reading the story per se, I'm just having a quick look at the artwork, and the order did kind of change, and I'll explain why in the second video, because a couple of comics got moved down to tomorrow's video. Anyway, let's get on with it. Issue 10 from DC, Green Lantern, and in the last issue we saw the Indigo Lantern destroyed by Nostromo after finding that Abin Sur had died, and so all the connections were lost. The rings, all these people that were wearing the indigo rings, the connection was severed, and now they are just who they were before the rings came on. Unfortunately, all these people that were wearing the indigo rings, they're all murderers, killers, psychotic nutters, and of course there's the Black Hand at the front of it all. Only the Black Hand decides he wants to escape. He disappears into this kind of forest woodland that Hal and Sinestro have found themselves in, and while Black Hand is off trying to escape, the rest of the then Indigo tribe decide they're gonna do some harm to Hal and Sinestro and start the chase. Hal is determined Nostromo is going to put this lantern back together again, as they're low on the green juice in their rings, but that's never going to stop Sinestro, and he goes into battle while Hal Jordan tries and sorts out the lantern, but Nostromo can't put it back together. He needs a spark to get it going again, and that spark comes from, well, it's Itaroki, the child killer of Abin Sur. And the story, this whole story arc, because it kind of concludes here, it's not been like top notch. It's kind of coasted along. It's not been great, but it's not been particularly bad either. And while especially this issue again feeds into what will be future storylines, it's done okay. The artwork by Mankey has had its moments. There are, as usual, those nice big one-page splashes of one characters. But overall, Green Lantern has been better. It's enjoyable, but still, it could do a bit better. Here's hoping in the next arc it will. Issue 10 again from DC. It's a Batman and a Robin, and we begin this issue with a group of villains that have all had their asses handed on the plate by Batman, and obviously all bear a grudge, brought together by a villain called Terminus, who is determined that Batman will suffer. But given with a name like Terminus, he hasn't long to live, and there are some weird, painful looking contraptions that Terminus uses to keep himself alive. It's quite grim stuff, but entertaining nonetheless. The Other half of the story is, as we can see from the byline at the bottom, it's a War of the Robins. Damien is stirring things up yet again, continually baiting the other Robins, in saying that, you know, he is the best, he's the one that's going to honour the name of Robin the most. These are all have been like, the rest of them have been pretenders to the throne of Robin. And he is certainly going to make sure they know. And he sets the gauntlet down. He's challenged that he will destroy, well, not destroy so much as in hurt them. And not just physically, but in their minds. And it starts off with Red Robin. Both physically and I guess mentally, as there are certain hints, well not hints, but flashbacks to Red Robin's past in the Teen Titans, which again, it's that whole New 52 continuity, what's still in there, what's been erased. I've not read much of the Teen Titans, so you guys are going to have to help me out with the storyline flashback of Red Robin when he was in the Teen Titans. Anyway, the artwork by Gleason. He did a run on Batman and Robin before it did get rebooted, and it's fun, it's bright, it's bold, it's nothing particularly exciting. But he does a competent job with the action and making the characters look not too similar to each other, which has been the case with a lot of artists working on this title. Trying to figure out who's who. Height alone doesn't help. Anyway, great book. Definitely worth a pickup. This is one of the books that sneaked up a bit. Wasn't going to be in the kind of top 5 to read straight away. Basically because the last few issues have been a bit... And this was always a title I was a big supporter of from the very beginning. And that was Uncanny X-Force. We've got issue 26. And the team are split up. Phantom X is off drowning his sorrows the only way he knows he can, by drinking and surrounding himself by beautiful women and pretending not to think about Elizabeth Braddock. We have Wolverine and Nightcrawler at the hands of these 3 new villains, turning their powers against them. And Deadpool seems to be buying a lot of weapons. It's a very interesting story. They basically are all being ambushed in various ways. And the story lends itself to, it's like, what's going on? Which bits are we meant to believe are happening? What's not? But we also get a regrouping of a new, I guess, Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. And if you check out the last page, you will see the kind of the group shot, which will be no doubt on the cover next issue. The artwork is good. It's an Uncanny X-Force kind of look to it, which we've been familiar to for quite some time now, and clearly lends itself to the book. Nice action-packed suspense a little bit. I'm glad I bumped this up a bit and read this first. Ultimate Comics X-Men issue 13. Now this, well, not so much a surprise, but I certainly have had my misgivings about this title for quite some time. I mentioned it on previous videos. Nick Spencer, he doesn't write superhero comics that well. He was an ill fit, which was a shame because, as I've said before, Morning Glories is a great title, if a little confusing, but he certainly intrigues me in that Image book. Here on Ultimate X-Men, he's gone and we have Brian Wood. And Brian Wood has certainly put his stamp on this. Having just finished DMZ for the DC Vertigo line, you get a feel of it here. It's DMZ but with superhero costumes. There's a revolution brewing, and it comes from Kitty Pryde basically taking control of the situation. She's done with hiding in the sewers, and she's basically going to take the fight to the now Sentinel-occupied southern western states. It's a really great read, and I'm glad I saved dropping this title to check out what Brian Wood was going to offer us. If it keeps going like this, I'm certainly going to stay on board for quite a bit longer. So Brian Wood, you've kept a faithful Ultimate X-Men enthusiast. Keep getting this title. So finally, and will no doubt be my pick of the week, I can't see any of the other comics I've yet to read pipping this. I think we all know what it is. We're probably all bored of it if we're into the Batman universe. It is, of course, Batman issue 10. Now, this is what an event is meant to be like. None of these long, sprawling 12-issue Avengers versus X-Men franchise, let's throw it into every comic that we have that's got a mutant in it. Let's just tell a tale over 2 months. So that's like, you know, keep it all in the Bat family and it's done. Issue 10 no longer has the banner. Does it really need it? No. This is wrapping up and a blinder of a surprise. Yes, we start off at the beginning and Bruce Batman is not sitting pretty. He's kind of like, this is all wrapped up way too easily. The Court of Owls seem to have done this suicide pact, leaving, you know, no trace. And it all seems, like I said, it's wrapped up too easily. But of course, it's there right in front of his face. And the one behind all this has a name, and that name is, of course, Lincoln Marsh. Lincoln Marsh, the guy who was going for mayor of Gotham City, who was a candidate for the mayor presidency. And the great thing about Snyder is he fits in everything that's gone before. All those bits that you just look over as you read in, that you think, not so much padding, but it's it doesn't seem like it's important. But then Snyder hits you with it in the conclusion, in issue 10, and it all makes sense. And it really makes you want to go back and read all the issues that came before it. Batman Bruce Wayne goes back to a Willowood, home for the children, to have this face-off with Lincoln Marsh. But of course, Lincoln Marsh still isn't who he seems to be. And of course, we find out that it is in fact Batman Bruce Wayne's... No, I'm not obviously going to spoil it for you if you've not already read this, but it is a shocker. And while it's kind of like, while you're reading it, you think, well, this is just trying to mentally provoke Batman into making a mistake and in therefore winning. And while we have got the fight to come in issue 11 of the Owl versus the Bat, it's the backup story. Usually backup stories are just so superfluous half the time and just not connected to the main story at all. But everything you've read in the first main story Batman is backed up with fact, information in The Fall of the House of Wayne in the backup story. Perfect combination. Loved this issue. Capullo's art, as always, throughout this 10-issue run so far has been fantastic and suits Batman to the ground. Snyder, Capullo, best title on the shelves, hands down. And that's it for the first helping of comic book reviews this week. Check out, hopefully it'll be up tomorrow night. If not, it'll certainly be there by the end of the weekend. As for me, that's it out. subscribe, thumbs up, put a comment down below, and tell me what you thought. Thank you to everyone who subscribed over this last week. I think that was more to do with the controversy of the end of my last review video, and when it got stuck on Bleeding Cool website, which, while a little flattering, was a little scary, I will admit. But there you go. It's amazing how they find you. But thank you anyway. Thank you to everyone who subscribed. I hope you still stay subscribing and enjoy all the videos to come. Take care. Bye bye.